The night after the healer's ritual, the compound did not sleep. The wind carried strange whispers, like voices buried under the soil. Palm trees bent as if bowing to something unseen. The goats bleated restlessly, refusing to stay tied. Even the moon, once bright, hid behind clouds, leaving the village cloaked in uneasy darkness. Amaka sat on the mat in her mother's hut, clutching her wrapper close to her chest. Her mother kept pacing, murmuring prayers under her breath, eyes swollen from tears. Obina sat in the corner, fists clenched, torn between his love for Amaka and the horror of what Chika had become. Because Chika was no longer herself. Earlier, the healer had warned them, Ojiugo does not let go easily. She feeds on envy, she thrives in shadow. If Chika does not resist, she will be lost completely. Now, Chika's laugh echoed outside the hut. It was no longer the laugh of a woman, it was sharp, broken, layered with voices that did not belong to this world. Shadows twisted against the walls. The mother froze, her lips trembling. Amaka shut her eyes, but she could still feel the heat of her sister's presence pressing close. Suddenly, the door rattled. Then it burst open. There stood Chika, her face half-lit by the faint glow of the lantern. Her cheekbones seemed sharper, her eyes no longer just piercing but glowing faintly red. Around her head swirled a faint ash-like crown. Ojiugo had taken root. Amaka, she hissed, her smile stretching too wide, her voice layered with whispers. Why do they love you more? Why must you have everything while I have nothing? Amaka trembled, unable to answer. But the healer's warning echoed in her mind, do not show fear. Fear feeds her. So Amaka stood, clutching her wrapper tightly, her heart pounding like a drum. Chika, you are my sister, she said, her voice breaking but steady. We were born together. I will not let the darkness take you. Chika laughed again, and the lantern flickered violently. Obina leapt to his feet, placing himself between the twins, his jaw tight. Enough, Chika. Whatever this spirit is, it will not destroy this family. But Ojiugo was stronger than their words. Ash and smoke swirled around Chika, pushing Obina back as though by an invisible hand. He slammed against the wall, gasping for breath. The mother screamed, rushing toward him, but a shadow blocked her path. Amaka's knees weakened. She could feel it, the spirit wanted her. Ojiugo wanted her life, her goodness, her light. The healer's voice carried into the hut, firm and commanding. He had drawn a ritual circle outside, chanting with cowrie shells and calabash in hand. His voice rose above the storm. Ojiugo, by the spirits of our ancestors, I call you out. Chika's body convulsed, her head snapping back unnaturally. The crown of ash above her pulsed, growing brighter. Ojiugo screamed through her, a sound that shook the hut, made the very ground tremble. Amaka's heart shattered. She could no longer see her sister, only the monster the spirit had turned her into. Yet still, she stepped forward, whispering, Chika, fight it. Please, fight it. For a moment, Chika's eyes flickered. The red glow dimmed, revealing the familiar dark eyes of her twin. Her lips trembled, and a single tear rolled down. Amaka, she whispered. But then Ojiugo roared, drowning her out, pulling her deeper. Chika's body lifted from the floor, levitating inside the hut, shadows stretching long and monstrous. The healer shouted louder, sweat pouring down his face as the circle outside sparked with unseen energy. And then, silence. The lantern blew out. The entire compound plunged into darkness. Amaka felt cold fingers brush her cheek. Chika's voice, or was it Ojiugo's, whispered right beside her ear. If I cannot have your life, I will take your soul. The darkness swallowed everything. The hut, the mother's cries, even Obina's voice, all dissolved into silence. Only Amaka remained standing, frozen, her breath shallow, her heart pounding like the drums of a burial rite. Then came the whisper again, curling into her ear like smoke. If I cannot have your life, I will take your soul. Amaka shut her eyes, clutching the edges of her wrapper. She wanted to scream, to run, but something in her spirit refused. This was not only about survival, it was about her sister. She had to believe Chika was still inside, buried beneath Ojiugo's shadow. Outside, the healer's chants rose louder, his voice breaking against the storm. Cowrie shells rattled, calabash struck the earth, and sparks of unseen power lit the compound. Ojiugo, leave this vessel! His cry carried the weight of generations. Suddenly, The hut shook violently. A blinding flash split the room, and Chika's body crashed to the ground, writhing. Her mouth stretched unnaturally wide as shadows poured out of her like smoke escaping a broken calabash. Her eyes burned red again, yet within them flickered something, fear. "Amaka!" she gasped between screams. "Help me!" Amaka fell to her knees beside her. She reached for Chika's trembling hand, though it burned like fire to the touch. "You are my sister," Amaka whispered through tears. "You were born with me. You will not die with this thing inside you." Ojiugo roared, twisting Chika's body backward. "She is mine," the spirit thundered. The crown of ash above her head spun violently, releasing gusts of wind that knocked the mother and Obina against the walls. But Amaka did not let go. She gripped tighter, ignoring the searing pain in her skin. "If you want her, you must take me too," she cried into the darkness. The spirit shrieked. For the first time, it hesitated. The fire feeding its power was envy that Amaka never gave into. Her sacrifice, her willingness to suffer for her sister, weakened Ojiugo's hold. The healer saw it. His voice thundered, "The bond of love is stronger than your envy. By the spirits of our ancestors, depart." With a final, piercing scream, the crown of ash shattered. A black mass tore itself from Chika's body, stretching into the night sky before dissolving into nothing but smoke and silence. Chika collapsed, motionless. The mother rushed forward, wailing, clutching both daughters to her chest. Obina stumbled to his feet, his chest heaving, his eyes wet. The healer sank to the ground, exhausted, his chalk markings smudged by sweat. For a long moment, no one breathed. Then, slowly, Chika stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, not red now, but dark, human, fragile. She looked at Amaka and whispered, voice cracked and broken, "You saved me, after everything I did to you." Amaka wept, holding her close. "You are my sister. That will never change." But though Ojiugo was gone, the damage was done. Chika's body bore scars of the possession. Her once beautiful face looked hollow, her spirit drained. She could never again be the same. The healer, his voice weak but firm, delivered the truth. "You were spared, but beware. Envy is a door. If it opens again, the darkness will return. Let this be your warning." That night, the village was silent. The story of the twins spread, whispered from compound to compound. Some said Amaka's love defeated the spirit. Others said Ojiugo still lingers, waiting in shadows, feeding on the envy in human hearts. Amaka learned the weight of forgiveness, though her scars were invisible. Chika lived with regret, her eyes always lowered, her laugh never as bright. The mother never stopped watching the shadows in her home, as though expecting them to rise again. And Obina, torn between two sisters, two fates, carried the memory of that night like a wound that never fully healed. But the tale carried a lesson, that envy, left unchecked, can birth monsters. That even family ties can break under its weight. And that sometimes, the greatest weapon against darkness is love, love fierce enough to burn itself as a sacrifice. The twins walked through life forever marked. One, the bearer of light. The other, forever shadowed by what almost consumed her. And though Ojiugo was gone, the villagers swore that on nights when the moon hid behind clouds, you could still hear a whisper in the wind. "If I cannot have your life, I will take your soul."